Hey everyone, welcome back to Speak English with Soul. I'm Emily.
And I'm James. We're really glad you're here.
Have you ever been asked a simple question like, "So, are you still chasing your dream?" And suddenly, you freeze.
Yeah, because it sounds easy. But in real life, that question can hit hard.
You've learned English, you know the words, but when the moment is real, you still get stuck.
And it's not because your English is bad. It's because this feeling is more complicated than it looks.
So today, we're going to unpack that together. I was thinking about someone I know this week, and I couldn't stop thinking about how strange this kind of silence is. You know? Not angry silence, not dramatic silence, just the kind where someone used to talk so easily about what they wanted, and now they don't really say much.
Yeah, that kind of quiet can say a lot.
Exactly. And I'm talking about my friend Sophie. A few years ago, she was so clear. She wanted to change careers, move to a new city, maybe even start something of her own one day. She used to talk about it with so much energy. Not in a fake way. She really meant it.
Right.
But recently, I had coffee with her, and something felt different. I asked a very normal question, just casually, like, "So, what are you thinking about these days?" And she smiled, but it was that small smile people use when they don't want to go too deep. Then she said, "Honestly, I don't know anymore. I'm just tired."
Oof. Yeah.
And it stayed with me, because it didn't sound like she stopped caring. It sounded more like life got heavy, and now even talking about her dreams feels hard.
I think that happens to way more people than we realize. A lot more. And the hard part is, from the outside, it can look like someone gave up. But inside, it may not feel like giving up at all. It may just feel like they've been carrying too much for too long.
Yes, that's exactly it. And I think people are often too quick to label that feeling. Like, "Oh, you lost motivation," or "maybe you didn't want it badly enough." But that feels unfair to me.
It does feel unfair, because sometimes the issue isn't desire. It's energy, or emotional space, or just being worn down. You can still care deeply about something and not have the strength to talk about it in a bright, confident way.
And I really wanted to talk about that today because I think this is such a human thing, especially for adults. There's this pressure to always sound clear when people ask about your future, like you're supposed to have a polished answer ready.
Yeah, like, here's my 5-year plan. Here's my purpose. Here's the exciting update.
Exactly. And if you don't have that, you can feel like you're failing somehow, even if you're just tired, even if your dream is still there somewhere.
Yeah, and I think that's the part people don't always know how to say in English either. They may know words like dream, goal, future, success. But when the real feeling is more complicated, more quiet, more mixed, they freeze.
That's such a good point. Because the problem isn't always vocabulary, right?
Not at all.
It's not that people have never seen these words before. It's that in a real conversation, when the feeling is messy, they don't know how to express it naturally.
Yes, and that moment is so real. Someone asks, "Are you still working toward that?" Or, "Is that still your dream?" And suddenly you're standing there thinking, uh, I don't know how to answer this honestly.
Because maybe the honest answer is not, "Yes, absolutely," but it's also not, "No, I gave up."
Exactly. It's somewhere in the middle.
And the middle is hard to say.
The middle is very hard to say.
Wait, can we stay there for a second? Because I think that middle space is the whole episode. That feeling of, I still care, but I don't sound passionate anymore. Or, I still want something, but I don't know how to talk about it without feeling sad.
Yes, and also, I'm not ready to let it go, but I can't carry it the way I used to.
Oh, that's good.
Because that's often what changed. Not the dream itself. The way you carry it changed.
That's really powerful. And honestly, I think Sophie is in that place. When she said, "I'm just tired," I didn't hear, "I don't want anything anymore." I heard, "Please don't ask me to explain my whole life right now."
Yeah. That's a very different message.
Totally different.
And that's why I think empathy matters here. If somebody sounds less excited than before, it doesn't automatically mean they became lazy or negative or lost. They may just be exhausted. or disappointed, or confused, or quietly trying to hold themselves together.
Right. And I think disappointment is such a big part of this, too. Not always dramatic disappointment. Sometimes it's just that low, quiet feeling of, I thought I'd be further by now.
Yes, that sentence alone hits so hard,
It really does.
and it's so common. People don't always say it out loud, but they feel it. They compare where they are now to where they thought they would be at this age, or after this many years, or after all that effort. And there's this gap between expectation and reality.
And that gap can make you quieter.
Very much.
It can make you avoid big questions.
Yep,
It can make you change the subject when people ask about plans.
exactly. Not because you have no thoughts, but because the thoughts are heavy.
That's so true. And I think this is why a lot of people sound very different in real life than they do in their heads. In their heads, they might have this whole emotional truth. But when it's time to speak, they just say, I'm fine, or I'm not sure, or we'll see,
Right, very short, very safe answers.
because those answers protect them.
They do. Safe answers create distance. And sometimes people need that. But sometimes they also wish they had a better way to say what's really going on.
Yes, not a dramatic speech, just a simple, honest sentence.
Exactly. Something natural. Something they could actually use.
So let's talk about that. If someone feels this way, if they still care but they're tired, what's a natural way to express that in English?
One very simple sentence is, I still care. I'm just tired.
I love that one because it's so plain.
It is. And that's why it works. It doesn't try too hard. It doesn't sound poetic. It just sounds human.
Yeah, it sounds like something someone would actually say in a quiet conversation.
Exactly. Another one is, I haven't given up. I'm just tired. That one is useful when you want to gently correct how people see you.
Ah, that's good. It's a little stronger.
A little stronger, yeah. Because sometimes people assume things. They see your silence and they think it means the dream is over. That sentence says, no, that's not what this is.
But it still sounds soft.
It does. It doesn't sound defensive. It sounds honest.
What about this idea that your relationship with the dream changed? Like, you still want it, but not in the same way.
Yeah, that's a really important one. You could say, I still want it, but I'm in a different place now.
That's beautiful, actually.
Yeah, because life changes us. And sometimes we judge ourselves for not sounding the way we used to sound. But maybe we're just in a different season.
A different season. I like that.
Me too. And if someone wants to sound even more reflective, they could say, part of me still wants it. I'm just trying to figure out what that looks like now.
Oh, that feels very real.
It does, right? Because it leaves room for uncertainty. It doesn't force clarity before you're ready.
And that's such a big problem, I think. People feel like if they speak, they need to sound certain. They need to sound inspiring. They need to sound like they have a plan.
Yeah, but real life doesn't always sound like that.
No, real life sounds like hesitation sometimes.
It really does.
Real life sounds like, I don't fully know yet.
Yes, and that can still be a truthful, strong answer.
So if Sophie had wanted to say more that day, without pretending she was fine, but also without giving this huge emotional speech, she could have said something like, I still care. I'm just tired. Or maybe, I'm in a different place now and I'm still figuring things out.
Exactly. Those are both very natural. And they sound emotionally honest without sounding too heavy.
And that matters. Because I think sometimes people don't speak because they think the only two choices are either sound strong and positive or sound completely broken.
Oh, that's such a good way to say it.
But there's a middle.
There is. And that middle is where a lot of real conversation happens.
And I think that middle is where people often feel the most alone, actually. Because if you're clearly chasing something, people understand that. And if you clearly stopped, people understand that too. But this in-between space, it's harder to explain.
Yeah, it's not clean. It's not a neat story. And people usually prefer neat stories.
Right. They want a simple answer. So, are you doing it or not? Do you still want it or not? But real feelings are not always that tidy.
Exactly. And I think that's why so many learners struggle in conversations like this. Not because the English is advanced, but because the emotion is layered.
That's such a good distinction. The language itself may be simple, but the feeling underneath it is not simple at all.
Yes, and when the feeling is layered, people tend to shut down. They go quiet, or they choose very flat answers.
Like, maybe.
Yeah,
I guess so.
right.
We'll see.
Exactly. And those answers are not wrong. They're very common. But sometimes they don't say enough. They protect you, but they also hide you a little.
Ooh, they protect you, but they hide you a little. That's exactly the feeling.
Because maybe you don't want to explain everything. That's fair. But maybe you still want to sound a bit more honest, a bit more like yourself.
Yeah, not fully exposed, just more real.
Exactly.
I also think shame is part of this. Maybe not big shame, but that quiet kind. The kind that shows up when you compare where you are now to where you thought you would be.
Yes, that quiet shame is huge. And it changes how people speak. It makes them smaller in conversation.
Smaller. Wow. Yes, that's the word.
They start softening everything, or avoiding things, or laughing things off.
That was Sophie, actually. She laughed after she said she was tired. And it wasn't a happy laugh, it was more like, please don't stay on this topic too long.
Yeah. A lot of people do that. They smile so the pain doesn't land too hard in the room.
And that's such a human thing. But it also means there's often more under the surface than the words show.
Definitely. Which is why phrases like, I'm just tired, can be so powerful. On paper, they look small. But in a real conversation, they can carry a lot.
So let's stay with that emotional honesty a little longer. What are some natural sentences people can use when the feeling is not exactly, I gave up, but more like, I'm disappointed, or I feel behind?
Yeah, one very natural sentence is, I thought I'd be further by now.
That one hurts a little.
It does, but it's real. And a lot of people say it because it captures both disappointment and self-awareness. It doesn't blame anyone. It just names the gap.
The gap between what I imagined and what my life looks like now.
Exactly. Another one is, I'm not where I thought I'd be. That's also very common, very natural.
And I like that it sounds honest without sounding dramatic.
Yes, it's reflective, not dramatic. And if someone wants to make it even softer, they can say, I'm still figuring things out.
That's such a useful phrase in general.
It really is. Because it works in so many situations, career, relationships, life direction, goals. It tells the truth without forcing a final answer.
And it also sounds calmer than, I have no idea what I'm doing.
Exactly, which may also be true sometimes.
Yeah, let's be honest.
Right, but I'm still figuring things out gives you more balance. It sounds grounded.
What about when someone feels behind compared to other people? Because I think that's a huge part of this too. Sometimes it's not just your own dream, it's seeing other people move forward while you feel stuck.
Yes, that comparison feeling is everywhere. And one sentence people often use is, I feel a little behind.
Simple, clear, very real.
Very real. And if they want to make it more personal, they could say, I'm trying not to compare myself too much.
Oh, I love that one.
Me too. Because it doesn't pretend the comparison isn't happening. It just shows awareness. It says, yeah, I'm dealing with that, and I know it's not helping.
And that feels so emotionally mature.
It does. It sounds gentle with yourself, which I think is really important.
Yeah, because if the whole conversation becomes self-attack, then even the English starts to sound heavier.
That's true. Language carries emotional tone. And when people are hard on themselves, you can hear it.
So if we imagine Sophie again, maybe I say, are you still thinking about changing your career? And instead of smiling and shutting it down, she could say, honestly, I'm still figuring things out. Part of me still wants it, but I feel more tired than I expected.
That sounds very natural.
Does it?
Yeah, absolutely. It sounds thoughtful, it sounds real. It doesn't overshare, it just tells the truth.
What if she wanted to say something about feeling behind?
She could say, I think I'm struggling a little because I thought I'd be further by now.
That's good.
Or even, sometimes I feel behind, and I'm trying not to be too hard on myself about it.
Ah, that's such a kind sentence.
It is, and I think kindness matters here. Because when people talk about dreams or goals, they often sound very harsh with themselves, like they're giving themselves a performance review,
Oh, wow, yes. That is exactly how it sounds sometimes.
right? Very cold, very unforgiving,
And life is usually more complicated than that.
much more complicated.
I also think some people stop talking because they're afraid others will hear uncertainty as weakness.
Yes, that's a big one, especially in cultures or environments where confidence is everything. People feel like if they hesitate, they lose credibility,
So they say nothing,
or they say something polished but not true.
which can feel even worse, honestly.
I agree, because then you leave the conversation feeling unseen. You answered the question, but you didn't really say anything real.
And maybe that's part of why these conversations stay with us. Not because the other person said something terrible, but because we didn't sound like ourselves.
Exactly. That feeling of, ugh, that wasn't really me. A lot of learners know that feeling.
Yes, especially when they actually have depth. They actually have thoughts. But in English, they end up sounding flat.
Right, and that can be so frustrating. Because you're not a flat person. You just don't yet have enough comfortable language for that emotional middle space.
That is such an important point. You're not shallow, you're under-equipped in that moment.
Exactly, and that's fixable.
I'm glad you said that, because this episode is really not about telling people, just be more positive or just work harder. It's more like, let's give you language that fits your real emotional life.
Yes, that's exactly it. Real emotional life, not idealized life, not motivational poster life.
Real life sounds like mixed feelings.
It does.
It sounds like tired hope.
Wow, tired hope. That's beautiful.
It's true, though,
It is true.
because some people are not hopeless. They're just carrying hope in a tired way now.
Yeah, and that changes the way they speak. It makes them slower, less certain, more careful. And honestly, I think English should have room for that.
I love that idea. English should have room for that.
It should. Because if all you know how to say is either I'm doing great or I failed, you miss so much of real human experience.
You really do. So maybe that's the main thing today. Not every dream conversation needs a strong, impressive answer. Sometimes a quiet, honest answer is better.
Definitely. Something like, I still care, but I'm tired. Or, I'm still figuring things out. Or, I'm not where I thought I'd be, but I'm trying.
Oh, I love that last one.
Yeah, it has honesty and movement. It doesn't fake confidence, but it also doesn't close the door.
I'm not where I thought I'd be, but I'm trying. That feels like something so many people need.
I think so too.
And maybe that's what I wanted to say about Sophie, too. I don't think she needed better goals. I think she needed more gentleness. Maybe more language, yes, but also more gentleness.
That's such a good way to put it. Sometimes people don't need a new dream. They need space to speak honestly about the dream they still have.
Mm. And maybe without feeling embarrassed that it doesn't sound shiny anymore.
Exactly. Because not all real things sound shiny,
No, some real things sound quiet.
and some quiet things still matter deeply.
Yeah, I really believe that.
Me too.
So maybe if you're listening and this feels familiar, if you still care about something, but you've been too tired to talk about it clearly, that doesn't mean your dream meant nothing. It may just mean life has been heavy.
Yes, and if that's where you are, you do not need a perfect sentence. You just need a true one.
A true one. I love that.
Something small, something usable, something that sounds like you.
Like, I'm still figuring things out.
Or, I still care. I'm just tired.
Or, I thought I'd be further by now.
Or even, I'm trying not to be too hard on myself.
Yeah, that one feels especially important.
It does. Because the way we talk about our dreams is also the way we talk to ourselves.
Wow, that's such a good place to end.
Yeah.
Because maybe that's the real question. Not just, are you living your dreams, but how are you speaking to yourself while you're still on the way?
That matters a lot.
It really does.